Hi, in this video of import, we're going to be continuing with chapter 1. One of the last things in this chapter is the distinction between environmental and ecological economics. So let's get started. Okay. So the difference between environmental and ecological economics is, it stems from the fact that if you look at it, ecological economics is ecologists who extend their discipline to include the humans and the economy. All right. Environmental economics, on the other hand, is basically economists who have extended their discipline to consider the environment. All right. This is where the difference between the two fields stems from. Okay. The next difference that you have is in the way that they understand the value of a particular commodity or in any particular thing, for want of a better word. So in environmental economics, just like any other way of economics, you have the value of a good in terms of its price, but we also accept that price is not reflective of the true value because in a lot of cases there is abundance of supply. So as you would be aware of, there's something called the diamond water paradox, right? Where despite the fact that water is essential to life and diamond isn't, diamond demands more value in the market than water does, because water has a supply abundance whereas the diamond does not. Diamonds are very rare, right? So essentially, even though the market price is not reflective of the true value, environmental economics simply includes the value of the environment and tries to get to a value of the particular good, saying or rather arguing that the resources of the environment are actually also scarce and hence need to have a value attached to them, which the market price will not reflect completely. Okay, so conventional economists believe that value is derived from individual values. Environmental economists believe that the value of a good is stemming from the content of multiple scarce factors, which includes energy, as well as how much people value the final good. Okay, which is exactly what I just said. Ecological economics, on the other hand, takes a more fundamental approach to value. It's more of a biophysical approach per se, because ecological economists believe that a value of a good stems from the embodied energy content of that good, which means that how much of energy is going into producing that good, whatever that energy's value is what the value of the good is. Okay. The criticism of this approach is that value cannot be used to, reduced to a simple physical metric. For example, if I'm a skilled labor versus an unskilled labor, if they are putting in 6 hours of work, the energy value of this entire exercise should be somewhat similar. But does that mean that the value addition to the good is the same? Not really, right? So there are criticisms of both approaches. The diamond water paradox is a classic example of what is precisely wrong with the environmental, not the environmental economics approach, but the traditional economics approach. At the same time, the energy approach is also too simplified. So we sort of need to develop a midway of sorts, which is what environmental economics is slowly coming to. Okay. The other fundamental difference between the two disciplines stems from their consideration of a long time horizon. Okay, this is important. Okay, because if you look at economics and even environmental economics, what generally tends to happen is that if you're dealing with any problem which is in the very long term, so for the next 25 or 30 years, economists would discount, okay, the value of the future. So for example, if you have, let's say, trees, okay, and you want to calculate the value of a forest in for the next 30 years or something like that. And this is again a very preliminary example. We have grown from this example even in environmental economics, but I'm just trying to give you a basic idea of what the fundamental difference between the two fields is. So if you have a forest for the next 30 years, the value of that forest would be something like, okay, what is the value of the tree today? If it's 600 today, okay, it's 600 plus 600 upon 1 plus r square, okay, and so on and so forth. I mean, you would discount it by a value so that you can say that the value of the forest in the future is less than the value of the same forest today because, there's a lag in the consumption, right? A clearer example of this is, for example, nuclear waste. Okay, so let's say you have a problem today of whether or not you should dump nuclear waste into a particular, um, uh, you know, let's say, I don't know, for want of better words, a landmine. So, when you are calculating the value of this, exercise, the harm to the future generations of that nuclear waste, whatever it may be, is going to be discounted today. Okay, because you are too much into the future. So, for example, अगर हमें 1,000 का लॉस हो रहा है और आगे फ्यूचर जनरेशंस में उनको भी 1,000 का ही लॉस होगा, आज हम उस लॉस की वैल्यू 1,000 रुपए नहीं लगाएंगे, हम उस लॉस की वैल्यू 1,000 अपॉन सम नंबर लगाएंगे, सम पॉजिटिव नंबर. ओके, एंड सम पॉजिटिव नंबर विच इज ग्रेटर देन 1 बिकॉज इंटरेस्ट रेट, राइट. व्हाट डज दिस मीन कि आगे की फ्यूचर की जनरेशन को जो प्रॉब्लम होने वाली है उसको हम डिस्काउंट करेंगे बिकॉज इट्स हैपनिंग इन द फ्यूचर एंड नॉट टुडे. एंड दैट्स वेयर इन्वायरमेंटल एंड इकोलॉजिकल इकोनॉमिक्स फंडामेंटली डिफर. ओके, एनवायरमेंटल इकोनॉमिक्स ये करेगा बट इकोलॉजिकल इकोनॉमिक्स ये बिल्कुल नहीं करेगा. क्यों? क्योंकि इन इकोलॉजिकल इकोनॉमिक्स यू टेक अ जस्टिस बेस्ड अप्रोच टू all of these problems, whereby sustainability is the main concern. So you say ki if some actions cannot be sustained in the future, then it should not be undertaken today or it should be undertaken with caution. For example, nuclear waste अगर हमने अभी कर दिया, ठीक है, हमारे बाद में 25 साल बाद वो लोग क्या सेम चीज कर पाएंगे? नहीं, because then the cost to them would be too high, right? Can you do it today? And then can all the other activities on that piece of land sustain for the rest of time? No, then you shouldn't be dumping nuclear waste today. Okay, if this is something that's not very clear to you yet, I would suggest go home and read the reading for these two things. Okay, because it's explained pretty well there. I have tried my best to come up with good examples, but then again, maybe your book might be a better solution for you. Okay, the last part of this distinction is the actually no, okay, environmental and ecological, that's the distinction. Now we come to the distinction between environmental economics and resource economics. Okay, now environmental economics, it involves questions of excessive production of pollution, insufficient protection of natural resources. We know this, right? On the other hand, resource economics deals with what is the best way of producing or using natural resources, both renewable and exhaustible ones. Okay. In environmental economics, you deal with mostly static problems, so time is not really a major issue. In resource economics, on the other hand, you deal with mostly dynamic problems because you would like to say what is the optimal rate at which you use a forest so that it can sustain for the next 30 years, okay, at a certain value. Those are the kind of questions that resource economics tries to answer. So the essence of the problem is time here. It's if you use a non-renewable resource slowly enough, then you can make it sustainable, right, for a longer period of time. On the other hand, environmental problems deal with they don't deal with time horizon. The essence of the problem is market failure. For example, too many cars in Delhi are leading to too much of pollution. For an urban area like New Delhi, this doesn't have a time component so much as it has a end market failure problem. It has an externality component. Okay. The overlap of these two is also very common. For example, in cases of fisheries, you would want to know what is the optimal rate at which you fish so that you can sustain the fishing resource for a longer period of time. At the same time, you also don't want people to, excessively overfish, which is a question that, environmental economics would also try to answer. So these are the distinctions between, different types of, economics branches which deal with the environmental economic paradigm, and we are going to be focusing on primarily environmental economics, but obviously we would like to know what we don't know, which is why resource economics and ecological economics, the distinction between these two is also something that is part of your course. Okay, now I come to the last topic, which is what is the overview of the environmental problems that exist. So there are 4 types. There is air pollution, there's water pollution, there's toxic emissions, and there's ecosystem health. I'm going to be attaching a small PDF with this video, which will cover all of these topics. and within the book.